All right, so I've been streaming for over 10 years now, and I started on Justin.tv. I was one of the first 50 partners on Twitch. And my career is taking all kinds of turns. Like I started streaming my own content, streaming tournament content, working for streaming production companies, working for a streaming software production company. So what I want to do is share a lot of the advice and tips and hopefully give some words of guidance or advice. But who is this video for? Now, if you're already making money from streaming, you're already a partner, you've done some sponsorship deals, this video is not for you. A lot of this stuff is going to sound like old news and you probably have your own tips and tactics. Now, if you're streaming as a hobby and it's just for fun, also probably not useful. A lot of this stuff you'll probably already know. And really, you should just have fun with streaming as a hobby. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Now, if you're planning to start streaming or you're already streaming now and you're kind of wondering, okay, how do I make a living off this? How do I do something with this? Then this video will be useful for you. So let's start the guide to how to start streaming for real or how to start streaming seriously. All right, the first thing you got to think about is what is your budget for streaming? What can you invest in this? And this is going to take both time and money. And in terms of time, you can't think of it as just the time you're spending streaming, you know, the 2 to 4 hours, 1 to 2, 3, 5 days a week. That's a given. What you also need to think about is the time you need to market that stream, to network with people, to learn streaming trends, to set things up, to plan your content, to promote it, to cut it up. This all takes a lot of time. And then in terms of money, it depends if you already have streaming equipment or not. If you don't have any equipment at all, you know, expect to spend at least $5,000. We'll talk about this more when it comes to equipment. But then there's the additional costs. You know, there's paying a designer to make your logo, to make your overlays. There's traveling to conventions when that's possible again, networking with people, you know, boosting your videos, taking courses, learning different things. So expect to spend another $5,000 on that. So at minimum, you should have at least $10,000 to invest in the streaming endeavor. And I can say over my career, I probably spent over $30,000 on streaming equipment and travel and doing different things, which is more than twice what I paid going to college. And that was probably only in the first couple years of streaming. All right, so this last part I want to talk about is what I think it's really important to consider, which is what most people's end goal is, you know, to make a living, to live off streaming. So I think this may seem a bit harsh, but I think it's really important to consider this. So in order to earn a living wage, and this can differ in a lot of different parts of the world based on, you know, the cost of living, but, you know, considering most of our audience is in the US, and let's say that you want to be a streamer and you want to make a, you know, a decent salary, decent earning, so you can live off streaming. And let's say you live in Austin, Texas. A lot of streamers live there because the state taxes, they're not going to tax your income, so you keep more of it. In order to have a living wage in Austin, Texas, you need to earn at least $45,000 a year. So that's about $3,700 a month. So that's how much you need to earn every month from streaming. And recently there was a leak of Twitch data which revealed the earnings of, you know, the top 10,000 streamers. And this is the point, this is not even the 1%, this is the 0.1% of Twitch. This is the tippy top of it. And out of that, 25% of those streamers were not earning a living wage. So that should really put things in perspective of how hard it will be to make this your main source of income. But if you're not deterred, let's continue on. All right, by a certain age, you should always have a strategy for the things you do. You know, time becomes more limited and real life happens, you have more responsibilities. But hey, if you're young, youth is for wasting, right? So a strategy is basically plotting out your streaming career plan. Like, what are the major milestones on your roadmap? Like year 1, I want to be here. Year 2, I want to be here. And, you know, keep updating those and changing those. So for example, when I started streaming and I was young, I was maybe 23, 24 years old, my strategy was, if in 2 years, if I make $2, I'll consider this whole streaming endeavor a success. Now that's actually a pretty bad strategy. But a year later, I had made $400 off streaming. By the next year, I was consistently getting streaming jobs and projects and flying around the world to stream. And by year 3, I had a career in streaming where I was, you know, making an income. Now I wasn't a streamer anymore, but I made something off streaming. So it's really important to figure out, like, what is your plan? What is your end game? Where do you want to go with streaming? All right, so next you need to establish a schedule. And I don't mean a streaming schedule. I mean a schedule for everything you need to do with your streaming career. So you should basically plan, especially when you first start out, at least 2 to 4 hours, at least 2 times, if you can, 3 times a week for your stream. And the rest of the free time that you have, you should dedicate towards marketing that stream. So that's going to be planning your social media strategy. So are you going to make clips? Are you going to make different content? Basically, you need to use other social platforms which have better discoverability than certain platforms like Twitch to drive people to your content or to build an audience. So it's going to take time to cut clips, cut up with content. Then you need to find time to network. Now, you're going to need to, I'll talk more about networking later, but it takes a lot of time. And then you're going to have to find time as your community grows to manage it, to talk with them. And then finally, you're going to need to be able to stay up on the streaming trends. So you're going to need to find content to talk about. It could be reacting to whatever viral video of the day there is, or figuring out what game you need to play. So basically what I want to say is whatever the free time you have, 25% of that should be dedicated to streaming, and the rest of that should be dedicated to get that content out there, get people watching it, and get it promoted. All right, so I mentioned social media because if you're going to be streaming on Twitch, discovery is getting better, but it's not quite there. So you need to use other platforms like Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, maybe, I don't know. But you need to do short form content, like 60-second content that's really digestible and will get people interested in what you're doing, let them know about you, and hopefully start watching your stream. So how do you do this? Well, of course you can create ad hoc content. You can create like separate stuff that's just different from it, put it on YouTube. Or you can design your stream to feed into this. Now, the lazy way to do it is just cut up clips, put them out. But if you design your stream, what you want to do is you want to say, okay, at this point in time, I'm going to talk about the hot news story, a bug, a glitch. I'm going to show a skill, something I figured out in game, my opinion, whatever. Just a small segment that you can chop up, and hopefully you have multiple ones that you can chop up into these clips for your social media. So basically try to outline, all right, I'm going to do this trick. I'm going to talk about this, whatever drama. Just make sure you know when you're going to do it so that when you go back and edit it, you can cut it out quickly and put it on your socials. All right, going hand in hand with social media is networking. So networking is, the best blunt way to put it is finding someone more popular so that their audience finds you. I've seen this happen time and time again, especially on live stream fails where a popular streamer interacts or finds another smaller streamer and then their audience goes over to them. Now, there's no easy way to go about it. You can try it in different ways. A lot of times people will see right through you and see what you're trying to do, but if you provide content for them and they provide an audience for you, it's kind of like a win-win partnership if you can find such a situation. All right, so I mentioned content planning, and basically making easily digestible videos like short videos, or making videos that are SEO friendly on YouTube that'll get discovered. And what is all this? It's basically the meta. The meta could be playing a popular game, or it could be drama, like calling out a specific streamer in your YouTube title. That'll get you clicks. And it's up to you if you want to follow this game. You could also try to be ahead of the curve and think, okay, this is going to be the next hot thing. I'm going to do this, and then other people will follow you and rip you off. But it's few and far between. There's less unique streamers than there are ones that are kind of following a formula. All right, the fun part, which is the equipment, or at least it's the fun part for me because I'm a tech person. But as I've been thinking about this over the last few months, I think I maybe get into the weeds a bit too much for this. So we're going to keep this simple. We're going to go with what you need and what you don't need. All right, so what do you need? So you need a solid PC, a good microphone, a decent webcam, and a good light. So solid PC, what does that mean? Honestly, you just need a GPU with the NVENC processor. So at minimum, I would say a 3070 GPU is good enough. 3060 if you can't find it, or even a 2060 or 2070. Whatever you can, find a GPU with NVENC, because this is going to give you really good quality encoding and not hurt your gameplay too much. Now, microphone. Just keep it simple. Get something like a Shure MV7, a dynamic microphone that's going to reject a bunch of background noise and is easy to set up. There's also the Beacon mic, the Rode Podcaster. This is so you can avoid having to buy an audio interface at first. Now, a camera. Now, for camera, you can get any webcam. The Logitech C920 still holds up. The Elgato StreamCam is a step up. Or you can use your cell phone as a webcam. You can use XSplit VCam and XSplit Connect webcam to do this. whatever mic gets you started, but most important is the light. No camera will look good without a decent light. So you can go cheap with an Aperture MC, but I personally like, and it's gonna last you a long time, is the Aperture 100D or 100X. These are basically the lower tier version of the 120D, which are a lot more expensive, but it's about $150, $200 light, and it'll take you really far in your career. All right, so what you don't need. So basically, if I didn't mention it in the past segment, you don't need anything else. You don't need gaming headphones. You don't need controllers or scene switchers, high refresh rate monitors, 4K capture, all that stuff. You don't need it. The most important thing is going to be you and your content. That's what's going to bring people in. No one ever tuned in because someone was streaming with a cinema lens or anything like that. So don't think about upgrading your equipment until you're making a stable income and you can actually pay yourself and eat and survive off streaming. You don't need to improve the equipment. Otherwise, don't worry about it yet. All right, so actually setting up a stream is pretty easy these days. So you just need to use XSplit Broadcaster. Now you want to set your resolution and frame rate. So if unfortunately all the NVIDIA stock is still depleted, then you want to set it to 1280 by 720p, 30 FPS. That's a good starting point for most computers. If you were lucky enough to get one, then set it to 1920 by 1080p and 60 FPS. Then you just need to add sources to your scene. So the first source you want to add is, of course, your face cam, add your webcam, and then you want to add your gameplay source. So there's an auto gameplay source. It'll detect whatever games you're running. If you're going to be streaming you watching episodes of Gordon Ramsay, then you can just use screen capture. Then you want to set your microphone and system sound. Your microphone, of course, is what you talk into, and your system sound is whatever plays back on your PC. So you want to set this a bit lower because you don't want your gameplay or, good old Gordo overpowering your voice. So after that's all set, you can add different stuff as you go along, but honestly, most streams these days are just a webcam and whatever's on screen. So you go to broadcast and select the service you're going to be streaming to. Now, most of these services, it'll automatically set the settings where you don't need to tweak or play with stuff. But if you want something clean and simple, then just use the NVENC encoder, set the bitrate to 6000 if your internet connection can handle it. Make sure it's set to max quality, click OK, and you're good to go. If you don't have NVENC, then just use the settings that XSplit recommends for you. All right, now I'll say from 2013 to 2017, having crazy cool streaming overlays was all the rage. Everyone had all their transitions and things going on. But now just people care about the content. They care about what you have to say. And is it fun or is it entertaining? Like, no one really cares about your Pikachu GIF donation alert anymore. In fact, I think most people kind of find those things distracting these days. So at minimum, you just want a couple different scenes, maybe a full face cam scene, an in-game scene, and maybe a starting soon scene and a break scene. That's pretty much all you need. You really don't need to go wild with the overlays. All right, so now there's your space, your background, your set, your mise-en-scène. So you can go wild with this, add RGB lights, all the craziness. But if you don't want to do that and you just want to hide it, you can use XSplit VCam. It'll blur the background, or it can remove it entirely or even replace it. All right, now let's talk about the process of being a streamer and making some income come in. So the first thing you want to do is you want to do some internet spring cleaning. Delete all your old handles, all your old accounts, just create new handles for your streaming career. Let's be real, when the internet first started coming around and platforms started popping up in the late 2000s, early 2010s, I'm sure we all had a regrettable post or something that we don't want people to see. So it's best to just get rid of that or make it private if you really want to have it for nostalgia. But all those things usually come up, so just try to get rid of them. All right, if you're gonna be looking for sponsorships or partnerships, we actually created a video to help you do that. But the most important thing is in your social account, please put your email address. No one wants to hunt for your email address. No one wants to go in your DMs. Put it on all your socials, how to contact you, and then create a sponsorship deck. So include things like highlights, stats, figures, and most importantly, put rates. Like, let people know upfront how much things are gonna cost and keep it updated as you go along. All right, streaming by nature revolves around parasocial relationships. Like, people are basically gonna be involved in your life. They're gonna be watching every day, making you part of the routine. So with great power comes great responsibility. So you really wanna protect your privacy. Like, don't friend people on personal accounts, don't give out phone numbers. And on the flip side, you don't wanna scam people. So, if you know someone's living from paycheck to paycheck, don't ask like, why haven't you resubbed yet? And also make sure to get moderators to manage the chat. to keep that distance, to keep you protected. It's really important. All right, we all love watching Hell's Kitchen and listening to 90s hip hop, but basically you're just putting your streaming career in jeopardy and just waiting for some big corporation to notice and shut everything down. So try to avoid that. All right, so I mentioned before that it's really important to have a strategy with streaming, to have a plan, but with every new endeavor, it's also important to have an exit strategy, to know when it's not working out and when you want to do something different. Like, streaming isn't for everyone. People lose motivation, lose interest, and that's fine. You can quit streaming and put stuff on eBay and sell stuff. Like, maybe you find that, you're doing TikToks to promote your stream and that's more fun to you. A lot of people, a lot of content creators pivot and go to other platforms. Or maybe you find like the process of learning about streaming, learning how the tech works is really interesting and you want to share that knowledge. So you can become a tech YouTuber and share different videos and different stuff you do with streaming. You can decide to maybe work for a streaming company. Maybe you really like this overlay program and you think more people should use it. So you hit up the company, can you make videos? Can you be on their social media team? There's tons of different things in the streaming industry to do and to help your fellow streamers. So don't feel like there's only one path and only one way to be a streamer or only one way to find happiness in streaming. There's many different routes you can go and many different opportunities. When one door closes, another one opens. So that should give you a good starting point on what it is to be a streamer and what it takes to make a streaming career. If you have any tips, comments, or strong disagreements with anything I said, let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. Give a like and subscribe if this was helpful, maybe gave you some guidance. And take care out there and see you next time.